I'm going to be showing you how to do the pleats on Westlynn's pleated dress. So what we're going to do is I've got my center panel here cut out. So the first thing we need to do is to determine which part you want the top to be. If you're using a solid, you don't really have to worry about it, but if you're doing directional, then you need to make sure that you mark your top. So what we're going to do is, depending on the size that I'm making requires 1-inch lines. If you're making the smaller baby sizes, you will have to use a different distance. So my distance for this one is 1 inch. So we're going to measure from the top 1 inch, and then we're going to use your fabric marker and draw your 1-inch line. And so we're just going to keep marking all the way down. I'm doing size 4, so that requires 1-inch lines. And so what we're doing is marking every 1 inch with our marker here. We're going to continue this all the way down until we get to the end of the fabric. And I'm going to finish marking these lines, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so now I have all of my lines drawn on my center panel. So now what we're going to do is we're going to iron every other line. And so it's easier for me to work with this horizontally when I'm ironing. So what we're going to do is we're going to iron every other line. So we're going to take our first line, we're going to fold it this way until where our line that we drew is on the fold. So we're going to fold it this way, take our iron, and iron it down. Now that we've got that one done, we're going to go to our, not our next line, but our third line, and fold it back. Make sure it's straight. And so now we have our line on our fold, and we iron that one down. And then we do it again. So we're going to keep skipping every other line. So we've just did this, our third line. We're going to skip our fourth and go on to our fifth. And so we're going to continue this all the way down to the bottom of your panel. And so I'm going to finish this whole panel, and then I will be right back. Okay, so now I have all of my lines ironed. I've got every other one ironed, and so it's got a nice crease on them. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our pins. So we're going to take our first line that's already been creased. We're going to fold it to where the fold touches that second line. So we're going to fold it here, match up the edge with that second line, and then we're going to press it. And then we're going to take our pins and just pin the edges. And then do it again with your next line. So you have this line is creased already. So then we're going to fold it over to hit that middle line. Let's see. And then we're going to press it again. And we're going to keep doing that all the way down until you hit the bottom of your panel. And we'll do it once more so you can see. It goes by pretty fast once you get started. Take your fold line, fold it to that middle, where that line is and press it. And now you can kind of see how your pleats are going to look for your center panel on your bodice. So I've got these 3 that are done, and now I've got to finish the rest of the panel. So I'll finish that and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I've gotten all of my pleats on here. They're all done. As you can see, they're all the way down my fabric. And so the next thing that I did was I just put a basting stitch down each side to help hold the pleats in place. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our pattern piece here, and then we've got to fold our fabric. And you got to remember which side was your top. If you can't remember, the pleats are facing downward. So that's also something that can help you remember where the top is. And so now I've got this here. It's on the facing the fold. Make sure your fabric is straight. And then so take your pattern piece and put it on your pleats. You've got the fold of your pattern piece on the fold of your fabric. And then you're going to pin it and then cut it out. And then you will have your center bodice. So now I've cut out my pattern piece with my center panel, and now I have my center bodice ready to go. So before we are totally done, what we need to do is we need to pin the pleats just like we did before to make sure that they don't shift. And we are going to do another basting stitch around the bodice just so the pleats stay in place whenever we're sewing the rest of the bodice together. So I'm just going around the edges and pinning all the pleats together so they stay for the basting stitch. This is a very important step because these pleats do tend to shift when you're sewing them. So the basting stitch really helps with the shifting of the pleats. So I'm going to finish pinning and then I'm going to baste it and I will show you what it looks like. Okay, so here is the finished center panel. I've did a basting stitch along each side and the neckline 1/4 inch away from the raw edge. So that's going to hold our pleats in place while we finish assembling our bodice.